All right, so looks like our listeners have been sending us a ton of stuff about the NBA.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're really into this whole three-pointer debate, you know.
Hmm.
Is it like changing the game for the better or is it ruining it?
Yeah.
We're gonna try to figure that out.
Cool.
One of the sources that you sent me was this all NBA podcast with Tim Legler.
Oh, yeah. He's great.
Yeah, former player and
Yeah.
Now analyst. And he's saying that a lot of lifelong fans
Really?
feeling kind of disillusioned with the game these days,
Wow.
calling it monotonous because of the amount of three-pointers.
Yeah.
But it's not just the quantity, right?
No, it's definitely not just how many threes are going up. It's like how it's impacting the whole game, how it's changing the game.
Yeah.
And like, are all these players even really the best guys to be taking all these threes?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Are we kind of sacrificing some of the
Exactly.
You know,
It's lowering the overall quality of the game.
yeah.
You know?
So it's not even like, is the three-pointer good or bad? It's like, how is it impacting the whole game?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is something that, people have been talking about with baseball too, right?
Oh, totally. It's a great comparison.
Like, it's almost like the NBA is getting solved
Uh-huh.
like baseball did.
You know that whole thing where
Yeah.
analytics led to everybody just trying to hit home runs?
Right.
Even though it meant more strikeouts?
Yeah.
And some people say that made the game less interesting.
Less nuanced.
Totally less nuanced.
Yeah. Is the NBA headed that way?
Yeah. Are we losing something? Are we losing?
Yeah. Like all the, the mid-range game and all the
Right.
creative passing and stuff.
Yeah, like is all that artistry getting, pushed aside?
Yeah. Is efficiency the only thing that matters now?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of fans are definitely wrestling with that one, I think.
So, okay, let's say that we all kind of agree that there's a potential problem here.
Okay.
What are some of the things that people are talking about doing to fix it?
Well, Legler and the All NBA podcast crew, they were talking about some pretty interesting ideas.
Okay.
One that I thought was interesting was, allowing more physicality
Okay.
on the perimeter.
Yeah.
Especially on those step back and side step threes,
Right.
Make it tougher. Make them work harder to get those shots off.
Yeah. So like bring back some of that old school hand checking a little bit.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But, Legler did bring up a good point. He said,
What's that?
these guys today, they're so good
Yeah.
at creating space, even with a guy right on him.
Yeah, they're incredible.
Like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So that might not be the magic solution.
Okay, so what else were they talking about?
Another idea was getting rid of that defensive 3 seconds rule.
Okay.
Just let those defenders camp out in the paint.
Yeah.
So it's harder to drive to the hoop.
Right.
So basically, clog up the lane.
Make it like a battle royale down there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But then wouldn't
yeah.
that lead to
That's the thing.
more open threes?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you might actually end up with more threes.
Right, because you're taking away the...
Yeah, you're giving those shooters more space.
Yeah.
If you make the paint a no-fly zone.
It's so interesting how, like, every time you change something, it's like
Right.
it ripples out and changes something else.
Totally. And that's what makes this whole thing so
Yeah.
interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like there's so much strategy involved.
Yeah.
Like even just thinking about these changes.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so what else?
Oh, they had another rule change they were kicking around.
Okay.
They were saying like, what if you got rid of corner threes
Wow.
by making the three-point line a true arc?
So no more, like, parking your guy in the corner?
Exactly. No more corner specialist.
Wow, that's a huge change.
That would really change things up.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how that would change where guys are on the court. Yeah. What do you think that would do to offenses in general?
Well, it's hard to say for sure,
Yeah.
but you got to think it would shake things up.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of these ideas are about, right? Encouraging
Yeah.
teams to play in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. Okay, this one, I have to admit, I kind of like.
What's that?
What if dunks were worth 3 points?
Oh.
Whoa.
Oh. Can you imagine
Yeah, that's
it?
a wild idea.
Can you imagine a guy like Giannis?
Oh my God, he would be unstoppable.
He would be a monster.
That's crazy.
That would totally change, like, how teams think about players
totally.
and how offenses are run.
For sure. Like that would really incentivize getting to the basket.
Yeah, we'd see way more high-flying action and a lot less just standing around chucking threes.
It's a bold idea.
Yeah.
But it really kind of gets at that tension between the analytics and how the game looks.
Yeah, right.
Like what's more important, getting the most points?
We're putting on a good show.
Totally. And wouldn't that make the game more physical too?
Oh, for sure.
If dunks are worth 3 points, you're going to see a lot more guys.
Uh-huh.
driving to the basket, trying to dunk it.
Contact,
Yeah.
fouls.
It brings us back to like the real fundamental question here, right?
What's that?
Even if the three-pointer is like the best way to score,
Right.
like analytically,
Yeah.
is there a point where it just makes the game less fun to watch?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
That's what we need to figure out.
Okay, so before we get too deep into that,
Okay.
there was this other idea that the podcast producer James had that I thought was pretty interesting.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
So he was saying, like, what if you were allowed to goaltend three-pointers,
Really?
but only if they were, like, close to the rim?
Oh, wow.
Like, imagine,
That would be amazing.
like swatting a shot away that's about to go in.
Talk about adding some excitement.
That would be crazy.
Right.
That would be so cool.
Totally unpredictable.
But I think Legler had some thoughts on why that wouldn't really work.
Yeah, he was saying most threes either go in clean
Right?
or they clang off the rim and bounce way out.
Yeah.
So there aren't that many shots that would actually be affected by the rule.
It's like a rule change that almost never happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Not exactly a game changer.
Yeah.
But I give him credit for thinking outside the box.
That's cool.
It just shows you how much people care about this.
It does.
About fixing this 3-point thing.
It really does, yeah.
What did you think about his idea, though?
It made me think about, like, what kind of shots actually are close enough to the rim
Yeah.
to even be goaltendable.
Right.
Like, it's probably those high-arcing ones, maybe off balance or contested.
Yeah.
So even though the rule itself might not be practical,
Right.
it makes you think about, like, how to make those tougher shots less appealing.
Yeah, you're right. Like, how do you use the rules to influence those decisions?
Right.
It's not just about how many points you score.
Right.
It's about how you get those points.
That's what makes it so interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this whole conversation so awesome.
Yeah.
It's not about, like, finding the right answer,
Right.
the perfect rule change or whatever.
Right.
It's about understanding how complex this game is.
Yeah.
And all the different ways that we can, like, protect what makes it great.
And let it evolve.
Right.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the problem. We've talked about some of the solutions.
Right.
But now it's time to go deeper.
Let's do it.
What does this all mean for the future of the NBA?
Stay tuned, folks.
We'll be right back.
It's interesting, you think about, like, different fans, what they like about the game.
Yes.
Some people are really into, like, the athleticism, the dunks and the crazy moves.
Right.
And then other people are more into the strategy.
Yeah.
Like the coaches battling it out.
Yeah. Like the X's and O's.
The perfect play.
Yeah. And for some people, it's like the emotional stuff.
Oh, yeah. The rivalries.
The rivalries, the buzzer beaters.
Totally. The moments that make you jump out of your seat.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what makes this whole conversation so important, right?
Yeah.
It's like different people like different things.
Totally. There's no one right answer.
Yeah. Yeah. So where does that leave us?
Yeah.
If there's no perfect solution.
Yeah.
How do we even, like, approach this?
Well, I think the first thing is you got to admit that there's a problem.
Yes.
Or at least, like, a tension that needs to be dealt with.
Right.
We can't just, like, blindly follow the analytics.
Yeah.
And assume that more threes automatically makes the game better.
Right. It makes me think about, like, the other sports.
Mm-hmm.
Like the NFL, they've made rules to get more scoring. And it's definitely made the games more exciting.
Yeah, for sure.
But they haven't, like, completely changed the game.
Right. They're trying to find that balance.
Yeah. And that's the challenge for the NBA, isn't it?
For sure.
Like finding that sweet spot where the game can evolve.
Right.
But you don't lose the things that make it unique.
So
what do you think? Is there a way to do that?
I think so.
Can you keep the three-pointer as a weapon, but not let it become the only weapon?
I think it's possible, but it's going to take some, experimenting, being open to new ideas.
Yeah.
Maybe making some tough choices.
Yeah. Speaking of tough choices, we talked about some pretty wild rule changes.
Yeah.
Like making dunks worth 3 points.
Yeah.
Do you think the NBA would ever actually do something that crazy?
It's hard to say, but, they've always been a league that's willing to try new things.
Yeah, that's true.
They changed the rules before to fix things like scoring droughts. And, they want to keep the fans happy.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the key. Not like one big rule change, but a bunch of smaller ones.
Yeah.
That kind of nudge the game in the right direction.
Like little tweaks here and there.
Yeah, like maybe move the three-point line back a little.
Yeah.
Or make it harder to get fouls on those step-back threes.
Yeah. Or what if they called more traveling?
Oh, yeah.
on those sidestep threes.
Yeah.
You know, you take too many steps, that's
Yeah.
a travel.
Send a message.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
not going to be so easy to just chuck those up.
Right.
Yeah.
It's about encouraging a variety of play styles.
Totally.
Without like rewriting the whole rule book.
Exactly.
And, we have to remember the game is always evolving. Players are getting bigger, stronger, more skilled.
Right.
The rules got to keep up.
It's like a dance, you know?
Right.
The rules change how the game is played.
Yeah.
And then the way the game is played changes the rules.
Right.
Yeah.
No, this whole conversation makes me think about when I was a kid playing basketball in my driveway.
Yeah.
Back then, it was all about who could hit the fadeaway.
Right.
Or pull off the sickest crossover.
Totally.
And now it seems like every kid just wants to be Steph Curry.
Yeah. Chucking threes from half court.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Steph's amazing.
He's incredible.
And the three-pointer is part of the game.
Right.
But I just worry sometimes we forget about all the other cool stuff.
Yeah.
All the other skills that make basketball so great.
I think that's a good